Good evening and welcome to the Central Hounslow Area Forum. Attention please. My name is Councillor Afzal Kiani and I'm the chair of the Central Hounslow Area Forum. I would like to welcome you all to the meeting and I hope that many of you were able to speak with some of our stallholders present today and received some useful information and advice. As it is now just after 7:30, we will move to the formal part of the meeting where we will work through the items on the published agenda. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and will be made available for viewing on Hounslow Council YouTube page in the coming days. For tonight's proceedings, I as chair will be running the meeting and inviting people to speak as we have a full and interesting agenda. I will endeavor to allow as many people to speak as possible. With that in mind, I would ask members of the public to wait their turn and not interrupt people when they are talking or comment during contribution of others. It may, of course, not be possible for everyone to here to ask a question due to time constraints. Therefore, there are evaluation forms available on your seats with a box at the end of the sheet where you can write down your questions and provide your email address, and a response will be sent to you directly. Please do use the sheets to submit any unanswered questions and hand them to our community development officers. Now we're going to the agenda item 1, apologies for absence. Do we have any apologies?
Yes, we have apologies from Councillor Rahman, Councillor Batty and Councillor Sharma.
Thank you. Thank you. We now move on to the minutes. We have the minutes of 4 December 2023 for approval. Have you got, everyone got the minutes? Can we approve them? Thank you. Agenda item 3, Community Spotlight. As part of the changes being adopted at the Area Forum, we are introducing a Community Spotlight item to showcase some of the community groups and organizations in the area and the work that they do for the local community. We have already seen the performance, and I now would like to welcome Yazi M., coordinator at Hearty Fitness, to introduce their organization. Hearty.
Hello, everyone. I thought you had enough of us. So I just want to say a great big thank you to you all for being here. I needed to stand with my group here. We're a team. So what are we about? Hearty Fitness is about the hearty of the mind, body, and the soul. We go through so much in life. Each and every one of us in this room has a story to tell. But why is dance so important to us? For us, it's confidence. It's about triumphing, being triumphant for what we've overcome in our life. As you can see, all of these behind me, this wouldn't have been a success, and obviously my appreciation and thankfulness to God. We're here, we're alive. In the other part of the world, we see so many conflicts. And I just say, being a Hounslowarian, a proud Hounslowarian, everyone. We need to be a beacon role model of good community cohesion. We need inclusion. We need diversity. This is what community cohesion is about. Forget being judged on the screens, on our iPhones. We are real people. And this is what Hearty Fitness is about. We represent the whole of Hounslow, Heston, the London Borough of Hounslow. Thank you so much to Amoy, who actually a big cheer to her team. And to Christian as well, a big cheer to Gary, to Yag, to Nabila as well, and to everyone for this team, and to everyone you at the front. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Yazi and the team. We will now move on to the next agenda item, which is the police and community safety update. I would like to invite Inspector Khan and Sergeant Paul Todd, along with Farzana, the Council's Safer Community Operational Manager, to provide a community safety update.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming today. This is my first one, so please be gentle with us to talk to so many people regarding policing around Hounslow. So I'll introduce myself. My name is Javed Khan. I'm an inspector at Hounslow, and I'm representative of the wards in Hounslow area and the town centre team. As part of our new Met for London programme, I don't know if any of you have been to our new Met for London meetings that we've had over the past 12 months. We've had 4 so far, which were set out by the Commissioner. And it's all about gaining more trust, less crime and high standards. And basically what that means, translated in English, is that we want to get the community confidence back in policing. We've had some bad times with things that happened within policing over the last couple of years, which lost the confidence of our communities. So the Commissioner came out with a plan, especially around the neighbourhood policing model, and which was to make sure that every neighbourhood ward had 2 officers and a PCSO to represent the communities there and deal with their problems. That doesn't take away the emergency response teams. They're still there, so when you dial 999, somebody will come. But the neighbourhood policing teams are a bit like old-style policing. So if many of you are my age, you remember Dixon of Dock Green, having a police officer walking around your high streets in uniform and having somebody to talk to and being present. That's what our aim is to make sure that every ward has got all these officers. And we're not doing too bad at the moment. I think 90% of our wards around Hounslow are fully staffed, with the odd few. We have our issues around recruitment and stuff, but that's another story. So just going back on to neighbourhood policing. So with our wards, there's expectations set out by the communities on the ward, and each ward has priorities that we deal with. So such as antisocial behaviour, crime, theft, robberies, and stuff like that, or knife crime. And obviously the fear of crime is always worse when people look on social media and stuff and actually see that Hounslow maybe is really bad, but actually it's not that bad. When I compare ourselves to other boroughs around London, we're towards the bottom end of the ladder. So we are in a good place. But to reassure you, I can talk about Hounslow today and the things that we sort of do, especially around Hounslow Town Centre. So we have like Op Nightingale, which we patrol certain areas where there's lots of antisocial behaviour and try and to deal with the issues there. It's where officers constantly patrol for 2 hours on, and they'll move away for a little bit and then come back after another 2 hours. And that goes through for the day for 8 hours, 3 times a week. We have a town centre team. Unfortunately, due to lots of issues around recruitment and stuff, we had to lose some of our officers. Where we started off with 18 officers, we're down to 4 officers, but we're still trying to do the best to make Hounslow High Street a safer place for everybody. And again, compared to other high streets, we're still not too bad. With proactive stuff, we are working with our partners for Zona here in order to make, like I say, the high street a better place for everybody to visit and feel safe. I'll talk about the ward shortly, so I'm just going to talk about the high street at the moment, where most of our concerns are. Last 4 months, we've also had the facial recognition teams here. I don't know if any of you have seen the vans and the advertisement that we did around that. Facial recognition van, basically, we set up in the high street, and anybody walks past, it goes to the photo. So the facial recognition van only works on people that are wanted by the police, so members of the public who walk past. You don't have to worry about your images being captured, everything is deleted. By the time you walk past the van, the images are deleted. It's only people that are wanted by the police for previous offences that it will deal with. So if it recognises people that maybe have been outstanding for the last 6 years or 10 years or 15 years, it will identify them. We carry devices with us, and it tells us on there that this person is wanted. We then go and speak to them, make sure that it's that individual, and then we'll deal with them appropriately, whether by arrest or summons. We also have initiatives around here. So motor vehicle crime is another issue that relates our area in Hounslow. So we've got a week initiative at present going around motor vehicle crime. So we're targeting hotspots and some preventative work. And that preventative work is obviously educating people, giving out leaflets. And we've also got some wallets for the car keys. I forgot what they call Faraday bags, that's it. Faraday bags to give out. So if you ever see a stall around motor vehicle crime, please approach. Get some details around how you can protect yourselves and make your vehicle safe. And if you need one of these key bags, then you're free to welcome to have one. We've also got, we do weapon sweeps around the parks, so Lambton Park, Inwood Park, and other parks around the area as well, regularly to find hidden weapons and stuff. And over the past year that I've been on this area, we regularly find knives and stuff. But obviously, again, that is preventative in order to do weapon sweeps. We do regularly. We used to do with our park keepers, park rangers that we used to have with the council. Unfortunately, they're no longer with us and stuff, so it goes back to the police force, police service to manage that, and we do the best we can. I can talk about all the stuff that we do along violence against women and girls, along the high street and the pubs here. So we've been doing Ask Angela, which is if anybody, any females that are in trouble, all the staff at these hotels, restaurants, gyms, shops are aware of. And if an individual asks for Angela, they know that this person is asking for support and assistance, and they will try and help and call the police, and we'll try to get there as soon as possible in order to help that individual. There's so many things I can talk about, but it'll get a bit boring because it's all about what we're trying to do and stuff. We also have the County Line Intensification Week coming up, and that's all to do with young children who are involved in gangs and crime and being recruited or grooming and stuff like that. So we work with young children. Officers go out. They look for especially these young children that are hanging about in vulnerable places, and in some cases, like places like McDonald's and stuff, where it's easy for people to groom young children. So we work with other charities, other organisations and partners here at Fazana to look after these children and safeguard them. And anybody who comes to our notice, we've got different pathways in order to try and get them out of that lifestyle. This is obviously something that's quite a common factor at the moment, as most of us know, that young children are involved in crime. And that's where we ask parents, if you have any concerns about your children, you want to discuss anything in private, please give us a call, and somebody will come down and speak to you about it. And if we can support you and divert the individual away from that crime, we will try our best. And on that note, I'll pass you over to...
Hello, my name's Paul Todd. I'm one of the sergeants at Hounslow. The reason I'm here is to speak about, for those that are familiar, Asda, the alleyway at the back that links Myrtle Road and Alexandra Road. It's a poorly lit alleyway. We tend to find that a lot of undesirables go along there. There's drug dealing. And I've walked it with councillors, I've taken photos of discarded proceeds of crime, drug paraphernalia, and my ask is that we close that, because the alternative is that you walk round the front of Asda, which is well lit, there's CCTV, there's members of the public that are always passing, and it's a lot safer than walking down that alleyway. If we shut that alleyway, that pushes the people out into the street, which then reduces our patrol area. Rather than go in one end, they see us coming, and then they go out the other end. There's just, we can do it with 2 cops, but by the time they see us, anything that they had goes over into the wasteland either side. But that is my ask of the councillors who are in support of this, to consider the closure of that alleyway.
Farzana, you start now.
Yep, that's great. I've got some slides. So,
Is it me? Yeah, okay. If it works. Everyone just do a quick dance while I'm waiting, yeah? Okay, let me start with explaining. So very kindly, the Inspector Khan's been mentioning my name when he's talking about it's not me, he's working in partnership personally. As part of the council, we have a Safer Communities team. And we have got, well, wait, let's try it again. Yeah, there we go. So we've got liftoff. Right, so we were really fortunate in Cabinet agreeing to invest further in our team. So what I'm going to give today is kind of an explanation of how we've gone from Safer Communities team, which was probably about 6 staff, to almost 12, 13 staff. So in a nutshell, this is what we look like now. So we've got Safer Communities team leads, we've got Safer Communities team, Safer Communities coordinators, Safer Communities workers that are looking at just complex cases, and then we've got Safer Communities workers doing some patrolling work, and we've got Safer Communities workers supporting specifically 18 to 25-year-olds. So what I'm going to try and do, in a very, very quick way, is just explain what these roles are meant to do. Because what we're looking at, we're conscious that actually there's, police time is precious, and we want to try and make sure some of the low-level stuff that is really important to our residents in helping them feel safe, it's not just for the police to do. The police can hopefully focus on some of the bigger things, and some of the smaller things, hopefully we'll get some alternative resolutions to move forward with. So here we go. So this is the Safer Communities team in terms of the borough. We have 4 Safer Communities coordinators, and this is how the patches are separated. Of course, tonight we're just thinking about the green area there, so that's the Hounslow area. We've got the wards in the red, which are the Brentford, Chiswick, and Isleworth area. Of course, we've got to the north there, we've got Cranford, Heston, Osterley, and Spring Grove. Lambton Park, I think, falls in that area, but still really important to the community over here. I'm sure you use Lambton Park quite a bit. And then Bedford, Feltham, and Hanworth. Okay, so our Safer Communities operational team leads, we've got 2 resident-facing teams, and what we noticed in the first 2 years of our operation, we're getting a lot of requests, Residents want to engage with us. They want to have a conversation with us and saying that, look, we live here. We know what's going to make us safer. We just need you guys to help us out a little bit here and a little bit there, right? Don't get me wrong, sometimes there have been quite complex situations that take time, and that's exactly what we're here to try and unpick and try and resolve. But we've got 2 team leads there going to be looking at where is the data telling us that there's crime hotspots, because we want to prevent crime from happening and escalating wherever possible. They're going to be liaising with their partners in the police, social services, any other statutory partners, so that we can get that image quickly and we can think about how to deploy the team in the right way. We've got Safe Communities coordinators, so we've had these for over 2 years. We realized they were doing a lot of casework, and we wanted them to focus on more of the engagement work, thinking about spaces like public spaces. What's going to make that space safer? What actions, or prevention measures that can be looked at, and do we have to, work together with other teams in the council or outside the council? And one of the things that also came up is situations with maybe private landlords, where there were situations occurring with multiple residents in homes, causing maybe, various types of nuisance or indeed low-level crime. So we're trying to think about different ways of addressing these things. So because of those cases that were coming up, and they were quite complex, so sometimes it means that whatever's going on at number 1 Bath Road, for argument's sake, it's not just something that's about Hounslow. It might be because somebody from Ealing is living there. So we've got our complex case work is going to be looking at how to unpick that. Sometimes it can take hours of work to kind of resolve those situations. It means maybe we need to think about legal remedies, like injunctions, community protection notices, community protection warnings. So the Safer Communities workers, focusing on complex cases, they're going to be looking at that a little bit more intensely. Now, We're really excited about this next bit. We're excited about everything. I don't want anyone to feel bad about it. But you know, with our patrolling staff, we've got 3 patrolling staff that's headed off by a very, very experienced team lead, and we're thinking about increasing visibility in public spaces like high streets, parks, places where we know our residents want to feel safe. They want children and families to feel safe. People with any sort of mobility concerns or disabilities and elderly, we want everybody to feel safe. Now, at the moment, our pilot has given us 3 patrolling officers, and we're thinking about wherever those hotspot areas are, we're trying to target them, and they go down, they've got high-vis jackets. If you ever see any of them in the street, please feel free to say hello. Okay, next bit. Okay, so another element of concerns that we know come up with, potentially things like exploitation of young people in dealing drugs or other types of crime. We know that the 18 to 25-year-olds, they're seen as adults, but actually they're very close in age to those younger and able to influence and sweep some younger people into crime. So we've got a specialist support for those people to say that, look, what do you need to get out of this? Because this is not the best way forward. So there's things where we're looking at maybe if it's safeguarding, preventing risk. We don't want statistics of serious incidents taking place of either violence against each other, because even if it happens and you guys don't see it, you get impacted. You might be like, oh, I don't want to go there anymore. You know what? That's what happened last week. I'm going to avoid it. So we're trying to think about engaging this cohort of people and thinking about how to reduce incidents that happen there. So finally, if you want to get in touch, that's our email up there. There's a telephone number where you can leave a voicemail and we can get back to you. For this location, on Mondays, we're in the Hounslow House Community Hub between 10 and 1 p.m. And we're always at area forums too. And that's me.
Thank you, Farzana. So now we take questions, and first of all, we'll take questions from the members here, and then we'll open to the audience. So is there any question? Councillor Grewal?
Yep. Thank you, Chair. First of all, Inspector Khan, thank you for the presentation. I know you're doing a good job. You can do with more staff. But in the High Street comes in my board, we can do with some more uniform officers' presence. The top end of High Street, there's a lot of antisocial behavior going on, bag snatching, pickpocketing, and that's a common thing on that side of the High Street. We can definitely do with more presence if you can afford it, and your help will be appreciated. Sergeant Paul Todd, we have visited that alleyway behind ESTA. Several times, I think, we find evidence of antisocial behavior, drugs, and there's not enough lighting there. People are frightened to go in there in the evening. It's not very well used anyway. And we found out with the police that it doesn't take longer. It takes almost same time if you go in front of ESTA. It's better lit, CCTV cameras there, and it's safer. We have done, when we're doing the campaign, we have done a consultation on Myrtle Road and other roads. And apart from one person, we haven't found any opposition. Everybody wants that alleyway closed. I think that would be a good idea if we can close it. If you can, officers, can you take a note of that, please? We want to, officers should start looking into that. How can we do that? With the help of councillors, ward councillors, and the police, we would like to close that alleyway. And Farzana, thank you for your presentation. And hopefully, you'll coordinate on this one, please. Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Grewal. Is there any other question from the members? Councillor Danish Said?
Yeah, hello, good evening. I've just got a couple of questions, actually. Councillor Mir and myself went to see one of our residents, a shopkeeper in Hounslow East recently, and what we thought would be a 20 to half an hour minute meeting ended up going well past a couple of hours. He was very disheartened and, in fact, very angry. He had a convenience store which sold alcohol, and he was frequently targeted by shoplifters. He's called the police out on many occasions, and he was actually very dissatisfied with the response. what I'm saying is shoplifting nationally now, I think we all know is a problem. I mean, I, for myself, have seen a couple of incidents in Asda and Aldi here and there. People are walking in and walking out. So there is a problem. I know some of it, they say, is to do with the cost of living. But what are we thinking? How do we tackle this? I'm not just talking about nationally, I'm talking about here. Is it true that the police in Hounslow and other areas feel that it is an impossible task to try and catch the perpetrators? Let's have an honest answer here. And also when it comes to mobile phone theft, it's happened to me personally. You know, is there really no chance of ever catching them? So people shouldn't bother to go and report it because it will, you know, you're never going to get your phone. And one last thing, which is slightly different. I just wanted to know when you were talking about the youth, the 18 to 25-year-olds who are involved in crime or on their way to, how exactly are you targeting them and then engaging them? What are some of the solutions that you, or the initiatives that you have thought of or have brought, or, you know, born into fruition in order to stop that, please?
So if I could answer, in relation to, I'm assuming Kingsley Road? Yeah. I encourage people to report all crime because then we have heat maps of where crime is. Then we can concentrate more on areas. I can only apologise that your shopkeeper feels that way. Shoplifting is a problem all across the high street. The volume of it is significant. The larger stores, what we find is they will get a pack from our investigations unit. We ask them to send CCTV, and that CCTV never comes. Again, the pickpocketing, it dropped off, and there's no beating around the bush. It was when we had more numbers. And now we have less numbers, less visibility on the high street. People are more brazen. How we tackle that with the small numbers that we have, I can't make any promises that we are going to solve that. There are options to have plainclothes officers along the high street and be vigilant and pick them up. But again, we also need the participation of victims. I know recently there was a victim that, because they were stopped, the person put a bit of paper over a phone. The store detained the person, the police turned up, and the victim didn't want to make a statement and go to court. So we've got the suspect, we've got the victim, but the victim doesn't want to give a statement, therefore we can't take it to court. So I urge people, I appreciate it can be a long process, but that has to be part of that process. And your last one was to Fazana, was it? In relation to the 18, 25-year-olds. Does that answer your questions?
I mean, yes, it does. And, you know, as I say, I realise you don't have the answer, but it's just, you know, from the shopkeeper's point of view or businesses, it really is, you know, it's really off-putting for them because, as I say, I'm not blaming the police at all. I understand there is a shortage with numbers and resources. But, you know, it's, you know, as I say, this gentleman was saying he's been sort of had this particular business for about 15, 16 years, and he's actually thinking of closing up now because he said, I'm losing too much. You know, and nothing, not that... So... He is really, really concerned, and he's out of
Please take my details after, and okay. if you could email me, and I will go and see him personally.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, sure. So your question was around how we're tackling it. So there's two elements to the work that we're doing. So we are doing some one-to-one work. The way we are getting the referrals, because we're identifying them, because we're not talking about just an 18 to 25-year-old who's, you know, on a loose end. We are targeting very high-risk individuals. So our team works very closely with probation. So if they are released from prison or they are released from court and they have some sort of an order, so they're identified via that. We are also looking at those that might have been identified younger and are known to services at that point. So then they're identified and saying, look, we're worried that this offending is likely to carry beyond their 18th birthday. We spent quite a bit of time at the beginning setting up very good relationships with the job centre and with other spaces like colleges and sixth forms to say that, you know, let us come to talk to people younger to make them aware as well. So, you know, we are doing when we're doing one-to-one work, sometimes that is quite intensive and time-consuming. Because you've got to remember, you know, I think the sergeant's here talking about a regular member of the public not having confidence in making a statement at the police. You know, people, if they're involved in this type of area of life, they have very little trust in loads of services. So it does take long periods of time. But we have found it fruitful because our approach is not about just the individual. Because they're part of this bigger team, it means we can say, hold on, we know this stuff is happening over in that corner. And we talk to each other and we're saying, okay, maybe we can sort this out. Where's the CCTV? What's going on? So we're looking at it from, you know, like a bigger holistic angle. So let's say, for example, if we're saying it's outside this front door here, we're not just thinking, oh, it's X on the door. We're thinking about what else is involved. We're also looking at mapping. Who else are they involved with? Who's the bigger players higher up? And then our colleagues, you know, at the police, they are able to help us out with some of the other finer details. I hope that answers it.
Thank you. Just one very quick question. With all the prisoners that have recently been released, are the police, not just in Hounslow, again, I don't know if there have been talks throughout with the police throughout the country, but are you particularly worried and concerned that there is going to be a rise in shoplifting or any kind of criminal behaviour? And how, you know, have they any solutions, or there's not really? Thank you.
When a lot of this was going on, I think our high-level senior officers were involved in the talks, and none of us really were aware until it came to releasing these prisoners and stuff. And there is some concerns. We're hoping that the probation service are going to step up. So at the last meeting, they are going to keep an eye on these individuals, have regular meetings with them. They recruited more officers in order to keep an eye on them and stuff. It is the low levels, because I think there was some concerns around, you know, we were going to let out murderers and stuff. It isn't the case. It is the low-level crimes that people had committed that were given sort of 3-4 year sentences in order to make that space that they've let out. So it is the shoplifters and stuff like that. We're having, some of them are going to be tagged still, even though that they've left, they will be tagged, so that there is some safeguarding measures that are put in to stop these people from reoffending and stuff. But I unfortunately don't have all the answers to that one. Regarding the shoplifting and stuff, it's like anything. We always say to people, keep reporting it. We will try our best. As Paul pointed out, our unfortunate thing is a lot of people want to tell us about it, but they don't want to go to court with it. So along the high street, we will stop people. When we ask for a statement, they go no. Even with phone thefts and stuff like that, people won't make statements, which makes our job harder, because if we're going to go to court with somebody and we're going to try to arrest these people and charge people, then we need something to back that evidence up, that somebody has lost something and then they're willing to go to court and give evidence. Everybody has that fear of going to court. They don't want to get involved because they think these criminal people, they may come back on some stuff. We will do our best with what we have in order to serve the communities here. I want to reassure you, we don't sort of put everything aside like with the shopkeeper. If we haven't got, if they've just run in and their face is covered and there's no CCTV, or the CCTV but the face was covered, we are stuck. We're no different than your good selves. Unless we can get forensic evidence, fingerprints and stuff like that, it's difficult to find that individual. Would you want us to be spending hours on end, something that the end result is going to be no case to answer or no further action? Or would you prefer us to be working on stuff that actually we can do something about? Because we can end up wasting so many hours on certain things where it's not going to go anywhere. So we try to best utilize our resources the best way we possibly can. But like I say, unless you report it to us, then we can do our hotspot mapping, look at where the problem is, and then we can bid for money from our partners, from our senior leadership teams for special operations and stuff, where we can then bring in resources or TSG and stuff when an area comes really bad. Unfortunately, that's the world we live in. It has to get bad before they'll do something about it. We have had to make so many cutbacks. The council asked earlier on about resources for the town centre team. I've been promised by my boss that we are now a priority because I've lost so many people. But it's just where these people are going to come from. I don't know at the moment because we've allocated the number of officers that we can have on West area. So they're going to have to come within. Somebody else is going to have to lose a couple of officers in order for me to gain, and then the problem just goes around in circles. But we will try our best to try and recruit people for the town centre team. If we can get 12, 14 officers, I think I can manage the core business on a day-to-day and reassure people that we'll do something about your crimes and stuff.
Move on to the next question.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Chair, if I may, just in relation to the High Street as well, we've now got an officer assigned to some of the bigger stores. So, for example, Next and H&M have got the same officer. So they will be linking in every other day to make contact. And that includes theft, pickpockets, shoplifting, to review CCTV. And of our 4 officers, they've gone along the High Street to the major stores. I appreciate it doesn't help the Kingsley Road shopkeeper. However, we are trying to make inroads there, and as I say, I'll personally contact the shopkeeper on Kingsley.
I mean, we realise the police have almost a thankless task, so you do your job, so thank you for what you do.
Moving on to the next question from Councillor Samia Chowdhury.
Thank you so much, Chair. Thank you so much for your presentation and our community safety team as well. I think it's really important at this point, I'll say that in Hounslow Heath Ward, we've had a really good presence of our PCSOs. They've been working very hard to bring down the crime rate and at the same time on antisocial behaviour for Benson Close. But here I've got another question. I've looked at the community safety team's presentation, which is really good, with my hat on for the children's services from 18 to 24. But a couple of weeks ago, I was in the Lambton Park. So from a female point of view, I was speaking to one female, how safe they feel to be walking around in the parks, even if it's a little bit dark. I think it'd be really good if you can highlight here that how important, how together with our team, how police can make a little bit more presence maybe in Lambton for females to feel safe. And another important thing is, which may be for us to look at, Fazana, is that how can we kind of put some work together to put some confidence into those females who have been victims but they don't want to come forward or report something. But when you speak to few females which have been a part of incident, they say there's no point going up to the police or saying anything because they turn up, they give you the number, CAT number, and they never get back to you. And I think something together for females is important because a couple of incidents have been, I think, registered in the Lambton Park. That's from my experience when I've been speaking to people.
Thank you very much. Around Lambton Park, we've had some issues, and it's clearly identified, especially around violence against women and girls. Over a certain period of time, it's anything. If we don't utilise our parks properly and the families don't go down, then slowly other people start moving in. It becomes that area where they start dealing drugs and stuff like that, and it pushes the families out. So it was something that they identified for over a month now, that we were having lots of issues, and we have put some resources in. So the neighbourhood policing teams have been going in and doing their patrols regularly. And over the last 2 weeks, our figures shown that the crime has dropped within the area. This is something we're going to continue. So the 2 parks, for me, the biggest concerns are Inwood Park and Lambton Park, where we concentrate in our resources. I have asked for some budgets in order to help me so I can get resources from outside in order to support me. And I'm hoping that in the next week or so that I'll get a result back from that to say that you've got X amount of money to spend to support officers to do constant patrolling around. So I think it's not something that we'd be able to fund all the time, but through our operations and our TTCG meetings, we're looking at doing more and more around their plainclothes patrol and working with Fazana's team and other officers we're going to try and see if we can maintain some kind of a presence within the area more often than not. And also, I think we've discussed how we can move forward and making Lambton Park especially an area where families start going back into and try and push these people out rather than us getting pushed out of there. Clean the area up, make it open like a coffee shop in there or something, hold events in there, make it difficult for drug dealers and sort of rough sleepers to go and hide in there and cause the issues that they do.
Sorry, so just to add, we were made aware because I think we saw some of the statistics. So there were conversations, I think in July around that. In August, we did an outreach event with, you know, as part of community safety, there's also the domestic abuse and sexual violence team. So we went out there to talk to sort of people in the park about safety, particularly of women and girls. We're committed to it. We need to just see what else we can do. It's not okay. You know, I can remember going through Lambton Park when I was younger and not feeling in the same way that people do now. Yeah. So we have acknowledged it, and I know parks are also looking at it from a different angle to say, you know, what areas are darker or less, you know, sort of inviting the wrong type of people, so that, you know, it is on our radar, and hopefully we'll get some results soon.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you to both of you. It's just like for us to kind of work together, how we can kind of improve to ask those females to come forward and speak up and then be a voice for others as well. Thank you.
Next question is from Councillor Ajmer Grewal.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Prasanna, just with Lambton Park, we just need to identify a few dark corners where the new developments have gone up. The entrance coming in, there are really heavy trees there, and there are no lampposts around there. So if we could have a few more lights in there, maybe that would help. Staying on that, we could have a walk around in the borough, which we do quite often, to identify dark corners where, like, the Bell Road issue, for instance, yeah? So if we can somehow seal them off or light them up, or so that they don't have little corners to go and sit and drink and do drugs and that would help a lot. And that'll reduce the fear of crime, won't it? So people won't be so scared. The other thing I want to ask, you know, when you had the facial recognition van in the high street, did you guys notice in the days or weeks after that it reduced maybe crime a bit because people thought the van might be there again and recognize us? And if it did, then will you be getting the van back again?
I'll be honest with you, we haven't done the research figures around how it impacts on crime and stuff, but we will be having the vans back again. Unfortunately, at the moment, it's like anything, it's a very new system. We've had to fight a lot of battles to get the two. Obviously, the community's concerns always are about, you know, are my images being kept? It's all about human rights and stuff like that. We've tried best to reassure people, so if anybody has any concerns around facial recognition, if you go onto the internet and put in facial recognition, Metropolitan Police, it'll give you all the guidelines of what we adhere to, set out by the Home Office and MOPAC. So there's lots of guidelines, and it tells you exactly where we have been using this, what results we've been getting and stuff like that. So it gives you lots of information, and especially around how the images are dealt with and kept and whose images are kept and stuff like that. So rest assured that we're not breaching anybody's privacy by using it. We're only looking for criminals, and that's it. Going back to the question of are we going to have them back again, we are. We have to bid for them. We've had the van in Hounslow 3 times, so we had 2 vans on one occasion, and on the other 2 occasions, 1 van each. We had some good results. When we had the 2 vans, we had 9 arrests in one day. Within the 8 hours, we had 9 arrests and 5 intelligence reports of people of concern. The other 2 times, on one occasion, we had 3 arrests and a couple of reports. So it depends on luck at the day. But that was 5 or 9 people in total, 12 people off the streets that shouldn't have been wanted for a long time. So it technically deals with people who were wanted by the police. Our next bid is again, but it's going to go to Feltham this time. And then Chiswick have asked for it as well, so we're going to do them too, and then hopefully it'll be back at Feltham High Street in the very near future.
Just ask a quick follow-up. Just a very quick one. You know, we're talking about shopkeepers. In Hounslow High Street, I don't know if it's with the police or with the Chamber of Commerce, but some of the shops have radios notifying one another that there's a pickpocket with a pink jacket on or something. If it's with you guys, can we expand that down maybe Kingsley Road as well or somewhere?
So that is with Safer Businesses, but we've been involved in that. So when we first came here, there wasn't a lot of shops involved. We went and spoke to a lot of them to show them the benefits. Unfortunately, there's still a lot of shops who, even though they have a radio, they don't use it. And that's one of our concerns. And this is constantly a battle that we have. So we could go back again, but hopefully when the bid, they've started the business, what's the bid stand for Hounslow?
What do you mean?
The business district
Yeah.
initiative. Once that comes round, hopefully if we're successful as well, that's going to make it a permanent status that people will have to use them radios. But we are working on it and asking them to pass information, even if they don't call us, pass information on to each other so that people are aware. It's just some of the shops just won't use it or engage.
Thank you. Now we'll open the... Okay.
Thank you, Chair. My question is, as we're planning to closure of as the alleyway, so many perpetrators will move to Spring Grove Road once. Have you got any plan in place to tackle that? As it is, we have a lot of issues, antisocial behaviors, drug dealing taking place. So what's the plan for the future?
So initially, if we went to North Drive, they would move from North Drive to Asda Alleyway. Now, if it's concentrated on one area, we can control our patrol or concentrate our patrols more on one place rather than two and just keep chasing our tail. So that is what will happen. We will go to one place rather than dealing with two. But there will be patrols Spring Grove Road around North Drive because we are conscious that it may move from one side to the other.
So there will be more patrolling. And any plan of putting any CCTVs or anything?
Not from the police side of you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Before I ask the audience for the questions, I have one question, if you can answer that. Previously, not long ago, we have an incident on Parkside Road in Hounslow Heath Ward, and there are a lot of burglaries on St. Stephen's Road. Initially, there was, quite a few officers are patrolling there, but I don't see them anymore. So what is your plan to patrol the area? Because that's quite a high alert for the robberies, car thefts and everything.
So we are working, like I say, because all our neighbourhood wards officers are now up to strength, or most of them are up to strength. So any problems that we get, or once we start doing our crime maps and it comes up as a hotspot, we do get officers to patrol them areas. Also, what we call our BRIS, our burglary and robbery teams are working in the area as well now, so a lot of plainclothes officers. And on top of that, we've got currently a project going where there's, once we get 2 or 3 or 4 burglaries within an area, we're giving out free cameras, the doorbell cameras, and static cameras as well in the area in order to try and support the victims and stuff and make it easier and harder for these people to keep coming back, because we find sometimes it's the same victim, vulnerable person that they keep coming back to. So we're trying to do a bit of target hardening. We are working on it with, like I say, with what we have. So going back to your question, so we are trying our best with what we have, and we are patrolling those areas. You might not always see the officers when they go down that road, or if they're in plain clothes, but even if they're in uniform, if you weren't there at the window not to see them, doesn't mean they weren't there. They do go, and we are trying to do home visits to the people who are burgled and stuff, so to reassure them that we're trying to support them.
Thank you. Now we'll take the questions from floor, Can we just pass on the mic?
Thank you very much. Hello, all. So my question is, I'm residents of Heathrow, and recently they put a camera outside my house. My house is opposite a school door, and they provide me 89 years of permit, which God knows who will be alive at that time. But at the same time, while they provide me 89 years of permit, they send me 6 tickets. And my car is company car, and I have to go through company, and they're very quick and fast when they send you a ticket. But when you want to get the refund or deal with them, no one is there to deal with you. They say, go to your company, company will, and each time I go to my company, I lose half of my day of work. Go and tell them, and they will say, okay, so from 6 tickets, I go 1 ticket refund, which I prove my permit. I don't know, it's a system, they need to update the system. As I said, they were very quick and fast to send you a ticket, but I have all the proof that they send us, before they put the camera, they send us all the information that you're going to put the camera out, what's your concern about this? And we said, no, still they put it, okay, it's fine for safety, it's not timing. There are times, because I know, while I have 89 years of permit, I cannot come to my house.
This is not a police matter, but also Chaudhary is happy to answer this question.
Okay, sorry, I was looking at
Thank you very much. I thought Councillor Kiani just said it's for questions for the police or on the presentation. With your PCNs, if you have any issues or anything you would like to talk about, I can just listen to you once we've finished, or if there's a problem you're facing with our parking team or with permit, we can I can take some notes and I can get someone to write back to you.
The mic to that lady here.
Thank you very much for that. What I want to know is, how do you deal with the beggars, those who are aggressive beggars? Because some of them, they stand there, they've got a crutch there, the one stands there, and then they're really very aggressive. And there are some that sit on the floor, and they are quite aggressive. How do you deal with them, please?
So, Madam, we do have powers to deal with them, and that is part of our briefing of the morning. We're keeping documents of when they get antisocial behaviour warnings. We then move it on to a community protection warning notice, and we can then progress to eventually get a criminal behaviour order. However, what I will say is, and I've been to the forum before and listened how the beggars cause concern, when we move them on and when we're speaking to them and they're packing up their stuff, there's members of public that are saying, leave them alone, they're not doing any harm. But however, Madam, I do feel that your pain in respect of they can be quite aggressive, and but that is part of our briefing and we do move them on.
Thank you. Can we go? Can I just request, to take the mic first and...
Sorry. I was stopped 3 times this evening on my way here from Kingsley Road,
Madam,
by people asking me for money.
Unfortunately, I have no answer. I've got two officers on today. They're on a motor vehicle crime operation, which... no, I can only apologise. I have no answer.
We are trying to take a robust approach with them now. We've tried to be nice. We understand some of the difficulty these people are in. We've also said to people, don't give them money. And then if they don't give them money, they'll go away from the areas. But because people keep giving them money, and they'll stay. But we are now, as my colleague said, we're going to go down the criminal behaviour orders and try and put a lot of conditions on them so they can't do these things, not just here, or go move somewhere else and cause a problem. So fingers crossed, we are trying to do our best.
So, lady on the third row, please, yeah. Third row, yeah, that's one.
So I just want some clarity, really, because I submitted some questions yesterday on more general. Is this meeting just about crime?
If you have put the question in, we will answer that shortly, yeah?
Okay.
We'll deal with them.
Because we might be running out of time soon.
Hi, I submitted some questions last week that I thought we were going to do the questions that were submitted before they went to the floor.
Is it a question regarding police?
No.
No. So we'll have an open forum and we'll discuss that in that, we'll answer that. This is just for the police at the moment, we're dealing.
Can you hear me all right? Sorry if I've got the wrong end of the stick. This is the first time I'm coming to this meeting, but thanks for the police for turning up, because you guys have obviously got no resources, you're struggling. I'm just a bit confused, because what is the council actually doing to actually collaborate with the police? Because I don't get that feeling that there's collaboration taking place. Like, the point about Myrtle Road is a good shout, and it's talking about, like, there's a running theme about dark areas and lighting. Can someone clarify whose responsibility it is to actually put in lighting and CCTV? And for the CC that's been put in, if it's owned by the council, is that being shared with the police? And I guess another question is, with these developments that are going up, that are creating dark areas, is the planning teams not taking on comments like this that are being passed about these dark areas existing and putting that on the developers who've got more money than the police and the actual council?
I can answer about our relationship with the police. I can't answer about planning, so maybe they can come next time. We do have a very close relationship with the police. Safer Communities is the team within the council that leads on things around public spaces and parks. There are other partnerships. So, for example, there's youth crime, and then there's a police officer that sits in there around that. We have relationships with probation. So we have workers that sit in probation, for example. We have weekly meetings that are focused on the 4 areas that I mentioned in the presentation, and our police colleagues from the Safer Neighborhood team sit in on that. I think it's probably helpful just to mention, the police response to things is tiered. And sometimes what happens is that actually we need these police officers on response, for example. Sorry, I'm not trying to answer on behalf of the police, but my point is that, and sometimes some of the more serious incidents are not sitting on local policing, it is other teams. So we do sit, the council sits on those meetings as well. So I think, unfortunately, it's not as transparent as that because we can't talk about it because sometimes there's ongoing investigations, etc. But we do have very close partnerships. We get crime stats and we look at what it is that the council can do to respond. But just to put it into perspective, Safer Communities approach has been about 2 years. We've had the strategy refreshed this year with the same priorities. You can look at that on the website, but it will take probably quite a bit of time to kind of see that, because you can have the idea, but to put it into action and see those partnerships grow into strong, robust, clear partnerships, it does take time.
I get that's all going to take time, for the police have got some clear asks around lighting and these roads, right? So what's happening with that? Because they've obviously got...
Sir, can I just interrupt you? I mean, if you have any more questions, you can put it in writing and give it to us, and we'll come back to you on that,
All right, sure.
I'll just take the last question from the gentleman just at the right at the end, and then we'll move on. And if anyone has any other question, you got the performer here, so write it down, give it to us, and you will get an answer directly from the relevant officer or relevant police officers, yeah?
So my question to you is, the post office is going to be shutting down on the high street. I trust...
Can I just stop you here? We are just doing the police, that is for the open area forum, so we'll come to that in a minute. Thank you. Okay, so with this, we'll move on to the agenda item 5. Hounslow PFI update for Central Hounslow. We'll now move on to the agenda item 5. Sabil Khan, Head of Highways, PFI and Ward Improvement, along with Tim Hurley from Hounslow Highways to provide an update on Hounslow Highways PFI. Thank you, Mr. Khan. Sergeant Todd, and Farzana. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Sabil and Hurley. Sabil, can we just request you to, because with the time, we're short of time, so if you can quickly move on to the presentation and then we'll move on to the questions. Thank you.
So to answer the lady's question, PFI stands for Private Finance Initiative. Essentially, it's the sum of the 25-year contract between Ringway Hounslow Highways and Vinci and the council. So it started with a 5-year investment period where we invested £100 million in renewing streetlights, footways and carriageways, and as well as that then maintaining through things like street cleansing, grass cutting and tree management. Okay. I've got a relatively brief presentation, if I may, which isn't that. The way around. Oh, there you go. So I guess, who are we, what do we do? We manage front to fence. So this is everything that's an adopted road or footway in the London Borough of Hounslow. What you see fence to fence, the path, the gullies, the carriageway, trees, grass, etc., is what comes within the PFI contract. So as well as maintaining that, so in terms of safety defects and renewal, there's also this street cleansing element. So when we look at what we're getting in terms of feedback from the public, you can see here our inquiries that we receive per year. Started with around 29,000 inquiries in the first year of the contract in 2013, and has now gone up to 46,000 this year. So a steady increase. That increase is down to a number of reasons. We're more known, there's more presence. We've spent a lot in improving our front-facing website, so through relationships with companies like Fix My Street, to ensure it's easier for residents to report through to us. When we look at the 47,000 inquiries this year, around 52% of that is fly tipping. So that's just reported fly tipping where somebody said there's a bed, a mattress, a black bag. That's something that we're picking up. I guess other key numbers from there, around 3,000 of that is graffiti-related inquiries where someone's asking us to remove graffiti, and 1,000 inquiries this year relating to weed control. Although we're associated largely with street cleansing, which is a big part of what we do, because it's what's visible and it's what people see when they leave their house, a big part of what we do is actually asset management. So it's taking on the roads and the carriageways, streetlights, bridges from the council in 2013, injecting £100 million of investment and then maintaining that at a high standard. The outcome of that has been for the last 5, 6, 7 years, Hounslow has independently been assessed as having either the first or the second best streets in all of London. So we know that that investment has made a difference. But that investment has to be maintained. So there is a renewal program, as well as the standard inspections and defect repairs, which this year is resulting in 56 locations, 51 carriageways, 5 footways, where we're resurfacing those sections. So how we determine those ones to do? We have surveys, so that's driven and walked and scanner surveys each year, which allow us to independently assess the quality, the condition of that carriageway or footway, and then look at that data against the preceding 3 or 4 years to understand what the deterioration model is looking like. And the purpose of that is to make sure we intervene at the right time. Of the 56 locations this year, we've currently completed 45. We managed to get this wrong and list some roads in there that aren't in the Hounslow central area, but there's around 7 within this area forums area. Just to read those out quickly, just for those that are interested. So we have Vincent Road Footway, Bath Road, Staines Road, Lambton Road, another section of Bath Road and Ellington Road are all areas which we're addressing this year. On top of that, there's other investment works that come in. So there's the footway pledge we're looking at this year. So that will see renewal of further footways within the area this year and next year, 1 per ward. And then we have the 2025 program. So we've currently finished the surveys for this year, so we have a good idea what that deterioration model is telling us and where we plan to invest next year. Another part of the investment we put in place, and this is funding which largely comes through Transport for London, developer funding, the council, traffic and transport funding as well. looking not just maintaining but improving the borough. And it's been quite successful. If you look at the £100 million investment from us over the last 10 years or so, there's probably another 40 million that's gone into improving areas like Hounslow High Street, Feltham High Street, junction improvements, cycle lanes. Just a few of the ones we're working at the moment in this area. So we've got the Hounslow Town Centre, hostile vehicle mitigation. That's installation of bollards in the High Street, which actually, as you see the church, you'll see some of our work sites going on at the moment. And that's about protecting the integrity of the High Street. So reducing vehicular overrun, which can cause damage and defects, allow us to concentrate on keeping that area safe for the pedestrians that use it. We've got a section over at Staines Road near Grove Road. So most of the work was finished on there. We were just waiting for some utilities works to complete. So we're going in to finish that section now. And then we're undertaking some work on a priority cycle lane, which will go from Steve Biko Way to Wellington Road. And then there's some rain garden as well. So that's looking at an area that was previously maybe paved and asking ourselves, how could we beautify that area? How we could make it a nicer part of the infrastructure there for people to enjoy. And also deal with things like stormwater issues, which we're getting over the last few years because of the changes in global temperature. We're getting harder rainfall over a shorter period of time. We need to find ways of managing that rainfall back into the network. And the rain garden is a good way of doing that. On top of this, there are dozens of smaller schemes, from junction improvements to pedestrian crossings, that we're also working on this year. Tell me if I was saying. Yeah. Structures seem straightforward, but structures, like everything else, have to be maintained. There are 45 structures that we maintain under the contract. And most of those, they'll all have an inspection every year, but they'll need a little bit of tender loving care. In some cases, they'll need a complete replacement. So last year, we replaced the footbridge going over the canal at Waterman's Park? Boston Manor Park, sorry. So that was a complete replacement where we took the old wooden footbridge away and replaced it with a new structure that will have a 40-year lifespan. And this year we're working on Ascot Road. And there's also smaller maintenance that we'll be doing in the area. We're also working on other structures. Strand on the Green retaining wall is a larger one, which is over in Chiswick, where although it's not within the contract, we're working with the council to see what we can do to inspect it and make sure that we're managing deterioration and improvement on that section. And just a more recent one, because the borough's seen a lot of good investment from private development over the last few years, last decade in fact. There's been a lot of work going on in Brentford High Street, which I know has caused traffic impacts to the residents and the commuters that are using that section. So there's also some possible work on the Brentford Bridge, which is near the Holiday Inn, which we're working on at the moment as well. Other things we do, we've just finished summer, so now we start thinking about winter. So working on our winter maintenance policy and plan. In the old days, I think winter was about ice and gritting and snow. Now winter is more about storm events and managing the rainfall that we're getting coming through. We're also finishing off our lining program. So we have a program to refresh the lining on all the residential roads in the borough over 5 years. That should be finished by the end of this month. And as well as that, a key part of what we do is managing other people that are using or trying to improve that infrastructure, particularly utility companies, the 5G, fibre, gas, water, telecoms, all seeking to undertake improvements, and that's renewal of infrastructure, but also facilitating other developments going on, which may need new supplies coming through. Cleansing is a very important what we do. We have a planned cleansing regime where we have standard barrow walkers that go out and do a litter pick and a sweep. We also have 6 crews that are responsible for emptying bins and picking up fly tipping. So as well as the planned stuff that we have to do, there's probably 2 key seasonal programs that we have where we bring in additional resource and additional programs. One of those is leafing, which we're planning right now, because leafing will start from October through to March. But weeding has probably been the biggest thing that I think will have impacted people within the borough. So we collectively chose to go glyphosate-free in 2019. So we are now one of the few local councils to have been chemical-free for the last 4 years. We've been doing our best to manage that. We've been doing it by looking at the areas where deterioration may be higher. So, for example, footways where you have old ASP paving slabs or gaps within the carriageway. So they've gone on to a program. We brought in additional resource to focus in specific areas, so teams of 10 operatives focusing on a group of roads at a time. They've also had reactive teams. We've been doing our best to manage the the impact of the weed growth, but the reality is it is a difficult challenge. I think I'd be lying if I said to you that we had it under control. We're managing the impact as best we can. We're trying to do it chemical-free, and we're also exploring alternative technology. So we have trialled 5 key pieces of alternative technology to the chemicals, and I'm sorry to say that at this point in time, none of it is fit for purpose in terms of trying to introduce it into an urban network with a high propensity of parked cars. So we are still working on the manual method, which is guys and girls on the ground with hose, brooms, and shovels clearing the weed growth out. We do have a program on our website, so we have 315 targeted roads that we're working on, which have a dedicated presence. We also have had additional teams, and our resource was up to 110 operatives as we went into July and August. That number's starting to reduce down now as we fall out of the weeding season. So we're concentrating on finishing the program that we have planned and dealing with additional roads and footways that need treatment sooner. So that's where the weeds are obstructing, possibly the footway, or acting as a physical obstacle or a site hazard. We have completed so far this year 806 dedicated treatments. So that's teams on the road clearing all the weed and the detritus off against a planned target of 646. And as I say, we'll keep going through September and October, and we'll just transition into the leafing program to keep removing those weed growth. On top of that, we've got specific teams out there dealing with high-risk areas. So we have 3 teams out early morning for the last 3 months clearing traffic islands. Weed growth on traffic islands can be a problem because it can obstruct the keep left bollard, and also it can obstruct pedestrian traffic trying to use that traffic island as well. Other things we've been doing, we have been trialling different technology. You may have seen within the high street a new electric footway sweeper, which we've been trialling for a month, and we just got approval to buy 3 new ones. So I have 1 in East, Central, and West Hounslow. We also have a Gladiator machine, which is due in next week. So that's a stain removal machine, which will start within the high street here in Hounslow, and essentially clean the high street thoroughly with high-pressure water and chemicals, and then we'll seal the high street afterwards to reduce further straining and keep the high street clean. On top of that, we are replacing our fleet, and we're replacing 3 actually of our sweepers this year. 2 of them will go to an electric variant as well. This is the graph showing the number of weed inquiries that we get. I don't think this will surprise many people here. Weeding inquiries have been increasing even before the introduction of glyphosate, which was in, like I say, we stopped using it in 2019. But you can see there, this is the number of reported inquiries where people are asking when we're going to be removing the weeds on that road. It's starting to level off this year at nearly 1,200 inquiries, 941 so far, so we're predicting another 200 inquiries to the end of the year. On top of the cleansing side of it, we have the Arbonaut, which are a key parts of the infrastructure that we manage. We have around 12,000 trees and 356,000 square meters of grass. For the trees, we inspect the trees every 3 years. So you can see here, these are the wards that we surveyed this year. And the idea of the survey is to assess the health of the tree, identify if any works are required in terms of pruning, and also understand if there is an issue with the tree, so it may need to be removed. Any tree removed as part of this program has to be pre-approved by the council, and any tree that has been removed will be replaced with another tree. So we have a commitment to maintain the tree stock that we have. So from the survey so far this year, we've identified 276 trees, which will need to be removed and replanted. The vast majority of those have already been removed because they've been identified as dead, dying, or diseased. When we plant any new tree, we'll try and plant it in a similar location, as close as we can to the old one. And what we're also doing as an additional benefit is we're installing tree root barriers around each tree, watering bags and mulch. The purpose of the tree root barrier is to prevent that tree later on causing damage to the footway. So if you look at some of the older footways in the borough that have large trees, those trees, as they try to gather water, the tree roots will come to the surface and dislodge the pavement that's there. The tree root barrier helps drive that root down where there's more moisture and avoid the root coming up and damaging the footway. We currently are watering 729 trees. So that's all the trees we've installed in the last 2 years to help keep them safe through the summer. Just some other things on Arbonaut. Again, we're constantly replacing our fleet. So our arboricultural and horticultural teams are all moving to electric variants this year. And also we've looked at how we can improve the delivery and upgrade the areas. So we've installed a large greenhouse where we're growing our own stock from scratch. And then we're going out and improving the shrub beds and the planting beds that we have. And as well as that, we're supporting wildflower sites. We, like all the other areas of the service, are looking at how we can go electric. So we've been trialing electric lawnmowers. This is the first one in the country, actually, which we trialed a few weeks ago. Why do we want to do that? Carbon benefits are essential if we're going to meet our national objectives. But it's also electric variants are well received by residents. They're quieter, they're less disruptive, they knock out less fumes. So it's beneficial if we do that from that perspective. Just last slide, I think this is now just a few other things that we're working on at the moment. I think I've touched on most of these. A key part of what we do is through resident engagement. We know what we have to do, we have a contract, but we're not doing it in isolation. There are 288,000 residents of this borough, and we can't do what we do unless we have their support and honest feedback, and we get a lot of that. We are always seeking opportunities where we can work with residents on identifying areas that we can improve in their area, or indeed where residents may want to go the extra step, maybe organise a local litter pick, or increase reporting, or become one of our lay assessors, which are community groups that meet us on a monthly basis and give us feedback about how they think we're doing. And also we feed back to them on things that we could do and how they could help us as well. That's it.
Just very quickly from me, Councillor. Thank you for inviting. I'll be very quick, just a couple of points just to add from the Council's point of view of what Tim was talking about. Just to let everybody know, we're in year 12 of 25 of the contract with Hounslow Highways. So they've been with us for 12 years. They've invested probably coming up to about 150 million, I would say now. And there's still a lot more coming as well. So if there aren't roads that haven't been done yet, there's probably a decent chance that they will be done over the next 13 years. But the council as an organisation as well, we still put in money where the PFI perhaps says it doesn't need doing. So for example, I know it's technically not in the Hounslow wards, but we will be resurfacing Lambton Avenue. That leads to Lambton School. Like Tim said, we've got the pavement pledge. That is the council's administration promise. One pavement per ward across the borough will get treated for the footways. We are nearly finalising that. We've got almost an 80% list sorted. I think everyone on the tables here has pretty much confirmed their choices. So that will be launched. We're hoping to start works in October, November time. It might be February by the time we start as well. Tim said a couple of interesting points as well. 288,000 people in the borough. That's probably increased over the last 10 years by about 40,000 people. There are probably about 125,000 livable properties in the borough as well. Our borough is very busy. And if everyone knows Hounslow High Street, even when the shops are closed at 6 o'clock, it's still quite a busy area. And again, we recognise that Hounslow High Street is a busy area. Hounslow High Street, as a town centre, is the only town centre in the borough that has 4 static cleansing cooperatives every single day. So they start at 8 o'clock and they finish at 5, and then that's just a daily routine, basically. And said that, cleansing from Hounslow Highways, from Tim's teams, is a 24/7 service. So if you report something at midnight, by the next midnight, it will be gone. And again, just a final point from me, just want to clarify what Tim said. We know a lot, and we are in a lot of places, but actually the residents are much more knowledgeable than us because you see things on a daily basis on your streets in your local areas. So sometimes we need your help, and actually part of the reason why we need your help is so you can report things to us so we can get them done. So the best way to report directly to Hounslow Highways, so taking out the council customer services out of the loop, is an app which is available online or via mobile applications, Fix My Street. It requires a very quick registration. Anything that you report on the adopted highway goes straight to Hounslow Highways for investigation, for assessment, and where they need for repairs as well. Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Sabil. Tim, thank you very much for a very informative presentation. Now we'll move on to questions. I will take the question from the floor first and then come back to members if I've got time. May I also request to be very brief and concise when you ask the questions. Thank you.
Hi, there is no lift in the west and central stations. So it becomes very difficult for someone with a stroller, with kids, with suitcases. And why we don't have this lift, it is so shocking.
So all the tube stations in the borough and across London are managed by TfL. It's not really a council issue, but what I can do, I can take that back to some of my transport colleagues who can then take that up with TfL partners.
Thank you. Gentleman here.
Hello, just some issues with the lights on Staines Road, the street lights, and the Hanworth Road, and also that is going into the Benson Close car park areas and the road around there just not working unless the timings have changed on them maybe.
So we are aware of an issue currently on some of the lights between Staines Road, Wellington Road North. There's an area controlled by one particular computer around there, and they are, for the last, I'd say couple of nights, it may have been a week or so, switching on at the wrong time. So they're generally coming on at 8:30, and it's not consistent. So we thought we had it solved because they were switching on and off at the right time for a couple of days, and it's gone off again. So I've been having calls actually while I've been in here about it. We are aware of the issue. It is a timing issue with the computer. What we're actually doing is upgrading all of the 16,000 lights we have. It's part of the plan program. We have a new photo cell on the top of the column, which will avoid these kind of systemic computer issues that we might have. There was a question before about more lights in specific areas. So if it is about lighting, which somebody would like more lighting, that is a request which would go through the council in consultation with the police, then we'd look at whether we need that. But if it's about a light that's currently in place and it's currently not switching on and off at the right time, we are aware of it and we are dealing with it and we'll have it resolved as soon as possible.
Thank you. We have a written question here, so we'll read out that question and can you please answer that? Yeah.
Okay, a resident has said that fly tipping in Hounslow has become horrendous. 2 litter bins in Alexandra Road have sadly become squalid dumping sites for all manner of things, but generally including quantities of food which by the morning are spread all over the highways by foxes and rats. The resident and a couple of other neighbours report problems at these bins almost every day. It's become a serious health and safety issue as well as an eyesore. Given that over the past year, fly tipping at each of the 2 bins must have been reported at least 100 times, there must be a log of this. Why are the 2 locations not flagged at a higher level as being hotspots? Is there a system in place for this? And we have asked for the bins to be removed on many occasions.
So they are flagged to a high level, which is me. And I have this particular inquiry. It happens in other locations as well. We provide bins. There's around 850, and I think we've increased the stock by around 15%. And we also graded the bins, so we've gone to double bins where we can to provide additional capacity. And we provide the bins on the basis that people use them for litter. Unfortunately, what we're finding is that, as I've said, 52% of our inquiries, so 26,000 inquiries relating to fly tipping, people use the bins to put domestic waste next to, or they put the domestic waste in the bin, which fills it up. This is a shame, because the bin are often placed at locations where you're expecting high footfall, or, for example, people to wait, something like a bus stop, so it's a necessary facility. Where they are abused, the first thing we do is see if we can understand why it's being abused, and seek enforcement, so opening up the waste bin in the bin and issuing fly tipping fines. We, as a last resort, will remove the bins, but we want to do it based upon intention. We're reluctant to do it because the bin is there for a purpose and it's being abused. But if in this situation we can't control the abuse, then we will look at removing it. So I do have the request. I'm just waiting for some analysis about, well, what's causing the fly tipping there.
We'll take, there's a question. Okay, that's, yeah. Yes, yeah.
Thank you. Yes, I was the person who asked that question, actually, and I live in Alexandra Road. And I don't understand why it hasn't been flagged further up the chain, because I and other neighbours really do report horrendous fly tipping almost daily. I don't know. I mean, it's being abused because people are using it as a sort of skip. There's food. I don't know if Deliveroo, people are dumping food as well, but it is horrendous. And we have asked for those bins to be removed because they are being abused very badly. And it's got much, much worse over the last year.
And I think the question for us is, why is it getting worse? I'm not saying we won't remove the bins at all. It's just a shame in removing the bins because they're being abused. But like I say, I do have the request. And also, if you can imagine, we've got 6 crews out there, and we've got WhatsApp groups for all the crews, and they are constantly reporting specific locations like this, asking, well, why am I coming here each day? It's just, you know, the problem I think with fly tipping, and when you place a bin and people fly tip next to it, in a way it makes it easier to clear the fly tip. When you remove the bin, the fly tipping, people don't stop dumping waste. It just becomes in a place that's harder. But we are reviewing the request. I have asked the local steward, the inspector, for their view on it, and then based upon that, I'll make a recommendation to the council to possibly remove the bins.
Yeah, I think it is linked to the increase in HMOs in that particular area. And we have also requested CCTV for under the bridge, and that hasn't been installed. And we've asked quite a few times.
Sorry, Councillor, just very quickly to that, to the resident's question. I wanted to reassure you, Madam, Tim and I were speaking about this morning, about that particular bin on the bend of Alexander Road and under the rail bridge as well. And that's the reason why we were talking about it today. For your CCTV request, I think our CCTV colleagues have looked at it, and because it's surrounded by houses, our CCTV can't communicate to the control room, which is why we haven't been able to place this camera there. But I will ask again.
I think you have sent us this question in writing, so you have asked it, so it's answered now, so that's fine. Can I go to this gentleman here? Front.
Yeah, just on the Grove Road leading round to the Staines Road, the sort of bend there where the advertisement screen is, there's a lot of barriers and works there, and a big bush that's sort of overgrown, stopping people walking past. So I'm wondering if that's something on the line to be sorted. And then the last one was just Benson Close roads are very bumpy and potholey. I don't know if that's on any works to be done. I think that's it, really.
I need to look at Benson Close and see whether it's on the programme or not, but I will ask for an inspection. And that will at least look at the safety element. Is there any defects there that could affect it? It may not look nice, but is it safe? I think the Grove Road, Staines Road is one of the schemes I talked about, so it's the back end of some works to improve the high street and the pedestrian crossing. This is the one near the Tesco, is it?
Yes.
Tesco Express.
Yeah.
So the barriers are there because we're waiting for the utility to undertake some works, different location?
Yeah, it's the Grove Road leading up to it. So just coming up to the bend from, say, like Benson Close area.
Oh, from Cromwell Road area?
Yeah,
I know where you are. So just around the corner from me. It might have just been misplaced.
We need to take that away and look at it. And the bush I'll look at as well, because if the bush is obstructing the footway, then we'll need to get that cut back. Did you report them through Fix My Street at all? If you could do that, the reason we say this is, my memory's not great, so I'm writing stuff down. If you put it through Fix My Street, you will geo-pinpoint it to the location and hopefully attach a photo and description. So the officer or the crew will see exactly what you're telling us. So if you can do that, it'd be a great help, please.
Thank you. We have another written question from the residents. So can you just see that?
Okay, this question may relate to Hounslow Highways, but there is another response from traffic as well. It relates to the installation of a bus driver's toilet on the public highway directly in front of the New London Educational Trust charity premises at 75 to 81 Staines Road. Residents have written in to express concern about the toilet being put in that location. We have had a response from traffic, but I'm not sure if...
Mine would be very similar, to be honest. So the reason why the council, not Hounslow Highways, had to install the toilet there, specifically and only for the bus drivers, was it was a planning condition. When we made Hounslow House, for those of you who remember what it used to look like, there was a public toilet just in front of the old car park. Because we took that car park away, that was the end, well, Steve Beaker Way is where the end of some bus routes are. So TfL demanded a toilet provision within 100 metres of Steve Beaker Way. So they couldn't, for some reason, use our building, because that was the first question I asked. So the next thing was on Staines Road, just at the junction of Upton Road, we've installed a secure toilet. It's not a public toilet, it's just for TfL bus drivers. It's locked with a keypad entry. It doesn't look like a toilet, it just looks like a metal cage thing. But unfortunately, it was a planning condition, so it's not operational yet. I think it still has to be plugged in with some water, maybe some electrics. But like I said, that was not a highway maintenance or improvement. That was a requirement of planning for the building of Hounslow House.
Can I go to Councillor Ajmer Grewal? Preetham Grewal.
Thank you, Chair. A couple of questions. Very good. Very good presentation, Sabil and Tim. My question is High Street. I'm very glad you said you got new equipment for cleaning there. I'm sure that helped. My question is, I have visited several times High Street, and the bins are overflowing all the time, and it looks really, really filthy, especially outside McDonald's. And if you go further up, there is another bin there. I have done several times of the day. I know you said you got 4 cleaners there, but can you please talk to them to empty those bins? They look really, really sort of filthy, and the High Street doesn't look very attractive. Going back to your fly tipping, after fly tipping, the second highest casework we have is weed. I know we stopped using chemicals, but what are you doing? Because in my ward, you still got 3 or 4 roads I can tell you. I'll send you an email later on. The weed is growing 4 foot high. And it really, I don't know, I mean, we need to put more force into it. I don't know what we need. And can you tell the public what we're doing it, and how can we sort of rectify that?
So I think firstly with weeds, you know, I've been honest about the inquiries that are going on. I'm not hiding it, that we're getting more inquiries on weeds. And again, it's the thing, isn't it? It's like fly tipping. You go out your front door, that's what you see. And it gives you a sense of, well, if they're not clearing that, what else aren't they doing? Which is sad, because it's not a true reflection on what we're doing. I know all the other areas of service, and including cleansing, they're doing an extremely good, difficult job. But with weeds, the reality is that glyphosate is the only thing that truly works on an economical scale. And when you don't use the chemical, it's not just the weed that's the issue, you get a high level of germination. And then with the weather that we've had for the last 3 or 4 years, which is nice warm weather for a longer period of time, with right amounts of rainfall at the wrong time, weed growth is a lot more prevalent. So where you used to have weeds on a road, it might cover maybe 5% of the weed of the road, you're now getting 20, 30, 40%. And because we're removing it manually and mechanically, it's taking longer to get round each road. So it's there longer. I think it's just the reality of where we are. What are we doing about it? Well, I've essentially, how do I say, I can't say overspent. We have invested probably 5 times the resource that we're supposed to in weed control. And that's purely through putting people on the ground, hiring additional mechanical sweepers, looking at alternative technologies. We accept that we have to invest additional resource to make that happen. The only way of staying on top of that until an alternative to chemical treatment comes in, which is scalable in an urban borough, is more people at this point in time. And we're equally worried about weeds, because although visually they don't look good, they can have an impact upon the asset condition, which is crucial to everything we're doing on this contract. The main objective of the contract was to take the borough from the worst 10% of roads in London to the top 10%, which we've exceeded continually. But something like weed growth, if unchecked, will slowly cause defects in the carriageway, or footway, or along the back channel, or even just the action of mechanically removing that weed with a hoe will chip away at the asphalt and the paving. So we are investing as much as we can, but we have finite resources like everyone else, and we can't invest any more than we are already at this point in time.
Thank you.
Sorry, Councillor, just one more comment just for councillors. We have initiated a study whether we can reintroduce glyphosate or not, and what the benefits are and what the drawbacks are to that as well. So there'll be a decision to be made as well in the coming months.
Thank you. With this, I would like to thank you, Tim and Sabil, for giving us time here and answering all the questions and with the very excellent presentations. So we now move on to the agenda item 6. This is an open forum. We have received some question in advance of the meeting. We will read through those questions first and any responses that have been received. So we'll go to the questions, we read the questions and read the answers we received from the officers.
Okay, so there was a question about the future for line bikes that are littered around the streets. What were the results and feedback from the trial project? Will the council be introducing docking stations for the line bikes? And will the line bikes be made harder to jumpstart, as the resident has witnessed under 18s doing so? So we had quite a lengthy response which will be forwarded on to the resident, but essentially it says parking bays were implemented through an experimental traffic management order for an initial 6-month period with the possibility of an extension for up to 18 months. This has given the residents an opportunity to try using the e-bikes across all seasons and provide comments on the scheme as part of this process. The e-bike scheme is part of Hounslow's curbside strategy, which was approved by Cabinet on the 16th of July 2024, and the report recommended that the trial be extended so that data for a full 12-month period can be evaluated in each of the 3 e-bike areas. This review is underway for areas 1 and 2, including the Hounslow area, and further details of the e-bike scheme can be found on the council's website, and there's an opportunity to email traffic with your thoughts on the scheme. In terms of the hacking of bikes, in the autumn of 2023, Line Bikes implemented a suite of preventative measures which it is understood have eliminated the hacking of bikes. If you have noticed anyone successfully hacking a bike more recently, please send details with the exact time, date and location to traffic@hounslow.gov.uk, and they will raise this directly with Line Bikes, the provider. I'm just going to go back to the question, because the next part of the question is, electric scooters are a menace on the pavements and roads, zooming past and on a few occasions into people. Will Hounslow bring the borough a zero tolerance policy on these scooters with fines and seizure of these electric scooters? So the Traffic Department has said that the council does not play a role in enforcing against private e-scooters. This is a matter for the police. At present, public hire e-scooters are not permitted within the borough, as the council has not signed up to the London e-scooter trial. However, some of the neighbouring boroughs are participating in those schemes. The electric motor on public hire e-scooters is automatically disabled at the borough boundary, meaning that they cannot be used in Hounslow. So that's that response. And then lastly, there was a question about, from the same person, about 80 to 82 Staines Road, the exercise for less gym area. There are plans for 55 dwellings on this site for flats and townhouses, and the concern is a lack of parking on the site. The residents said they cannot expect residents to move into these new builds without owning a car. The likelihood is that anyone with a car on that site will park in the roads outside Cromwell Street, Grove Road, Hibernia Road, and the residents' park it permit area in these streets and the streets around the site will make it even more difficult to park residents' own cars on their streets. So we've had a response from, so that was forwarded to the planning department, and the planning officer advised that the application at 80 to 82 Staines Road is still under consideration, so it hasn't been determined yet. Representations can still be forwarded to the case officer via planning.comments@hounslow.gov.uk, and there's a reference number. This will be forwarded directly to the person who has asked a question, but the reference number for anyone else is P/2023/2705. And once you email them, you can let them know any concerns you have about the application, because it is still yet to be determined. The other comment is, generally, and notwithstanding the consideration of the application at 80 to 82 Staines Road, the council has policies to support the provision of car-free schemes in accessible locations. It is open to the council to exclude future residents of a development from applying for permits within any CPZ zones. Okay. There is another question about the post office in W.H. Smith's. Okay. A resident has stated that residents have learnt of the imminent closure of W.H. Smith's on the High Street and with it the post office. The post office is always extremely busy with queues almost stretching down the stairs at the busiest times. Was Hounslow consulted about the closure? When the post offices were moved to W.H. Smith premises, were there no safeguards put in place to guarantee that the post office would remain open or move to a nearby site? If the branch of the store itself has folded, what has Hounslow Council done or doing to ensure the provision of a post office near the High Street? This one, there will be a response that will be sent back to the resident but can be included within the minutes because it's requiring a longer response back.
Thank you. Do we have any other question from the floor?
So the first one was about the
Ask them now. You can ask them now, you know.
The first one was about the process of the planning permission for 8082 Staines Road, because we were written to in 2023, and I made a response, and various other people on our street made a response, but we've never heard anything. And I just wanted to know, how long is it going to take? Because we're sort of in limbo. Should I do my garden fence, or is it, is it going to be ruined?
It relates to the same site where they're saying that it's still under consideration.
Yeah,
so
it is
I
under
would
consideration.
suggest contacting the, planning again, and I'll just check what I've forgotten what the email address was. It is just planning.comments@Hounslow, but I would follow it up because it's still under consideration. So it may be that it's going to go to a future planning meeting at some point. So
Okay. I mean, I'm just interested in the process. So the next one was, I know the Waterman's Art Centre is not in Hounslow Central, but as a resident of Hounslow Central, I frequently used it and valued it. And what's happening about it, and why was it allowed to close before a new building was available?
Okay, we don't have the answer. We will speak to the right department and we'll send you a response on that. Yeah.
Okay. And the next question is, my last question was, I cycle. I really like Cycle Highway 9, but it ends in the middle of Brentford. When is it coming to Hounslow?
That would be a response from traffic.
So we'll send you a response from the traffic. Do we have your email address, or just give it?
You do.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's fine. So we will send you a direct response from the officers. Yeah. Jenny, please. Mike. Subil, you want to answer anything?
Sorry, just wanted to address that last point from the resident there. So Cycleway 9 is funded by TfL. It's not, so it's still with TfL. They're going through a consultation. The plan is to come into Hounslow from Brentford. Hounslow Highways are building it, and they've built everything from the borough boundary to Brentford at the moment. As soon as we get an update, we will let people know. And there's this transport strategy consultation now at the moment, so we ask you to feed back to that as well. So there's various arms. So TfL are doing their own consultation, and Hounslow Council are doing our own consultation as well. So I urge you to log into those two websites. I think ours is on the consultation page, transport strategy. That's just general everything, but it will include cycle lanes and things like that as well. Like Tim said, there are other cycle lanes happening. Yes, that's the best one because it goes through the borough, but because it's funded by TfL, they have to do their entire checks and balances first before they come to us and say, go ahead, basically.
Thank you, Subil, for your response. Thank you very much for that. We have another question from Jenny here in the front here.
It's a request rather than a question. The Waterman's Arts Centre issue and the post office issue, I think, will be of interest to a lot of people. Could the answer be put in the minutes, not just sent to the relevant resident?
Yeah.
Okay. It's a question for our chaps here, really. It's the weeding is so out of control the last few years, and I know that they've want to wipe out using these chemicals. However, have they calculated how much the local residents are going and buying these chemicals from the home base, B&Q, garden centres, purely because the weeds are so large that they're going into their gardens, front gardens, back garden, and growing very, very rapidly. So it's a catch-22. Yeah, because the weeds are growing so big, they're growing, yeah, you're not using the chemicals, but the local people are. So if you add up all what the local people are buying, it could well be that it's just wiped out whatever good you're doing by not using the chemicals.
Yeah, like Tim said, we've been chemical-free since 2019, 2020. Yeah, we recognise that some people might choose to go and buy a brand of weed killer from B&Q. Home base is unfortunately closed now. But as an authority, we thought it was the best decision to make. You know, we've had feedback that it has improved the biodiversity in the borough. There's been sightings of swallows and all sorts of birds in the borough for the last couple of years. That didn't happen before, and we think that's probably because we are not using chemicals. However, like I said, we recognise that there is an impact on the highway. There is an impact on residents as well as they try to walk through some of these footways. So, like I said, we are considering whether we should reintroduce glyphosate or not.
And can you just ask the questions?
Sure. This is a question that's coming from a resident, and I'm asking it on their behalf. Yep, is that better? Sorry, I can hear myself really loud over there. So the question is, I'm a resident of Hounslow and I live on Munster Avenue of Staines Road. My question is, why are we letting people park on the footpath? My second question is, the main Staines Road, where Maya Food Shop is, why are we letting people get away with double parking? This is an ongoing problem which I've been facing for such a long time, and there are also cameras on the lamppost opposite the shops, and nothing has been done about it. I've also raised this to the enforcement team regarding this problem, and they've done nothing about it. So please, can we rectify this problem, as it's very dangerous to the public and to the road users? Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, Councillor Chowdhury will answer that question.
Thank you so much. I think it's a really important one, and I know how what state the Munster Avenue has been. As Sabili is here, I'm sure he will say a few words on Munster Avenue. But with the double yellow line, we have been working on it and trying to get enforcement team there. Recently, I think we've had a number of fines issues as well, but I haven't got the updated one, how many PCNs were issued there. But with Munster Avenue, we have got it on the plan now. I think I can say that publicly, but I would like Sabili to just slightly explain the next step for Munster Avenue, please. Thank you.
Sabili, have you heard the question? Yeah.
Sorry, councillors, I was speaking to a resident there. I missed
so
the question.
we'll repeat the question again. Can you please?
That was regarding the Munster Avenue footpath and the double yellow line and no enforcement on Cosy Launch, around Cosy Launch.
So if you don't mind, councillors, we can say that, yeah, Munster Avenue has been on the pavement pledge. It will be in receipt of some treatment. Traffic enforcement and our ASB enforcement teams know about the unfortunate issues that are happening on that junction with Staines Road. I mean, it's a shame that the police aren't here because on occasions, unfortunately, some of our officers and our partners need to have police presence for their own protection to be able to do their job. But they are doing the job. We know about this particular issue. A number of our departments know about this particular issue. There's a lot of partnership working going on as well. So it is a known issue. There will be some solutions in place.
Sabili, and I'll go to the last question. Okay. Can I just hold on for a second? Councillor Samia wants to say something, yeah?
It's just on the Munster Avenue that we will update the residents. I know a few of us have written to us, and near the time we'll write to them, and they will be receiving the letters as well, as we've had our chats with the team just literally on Friday. And we will keep, with our newsletter, we will let them know on the Cosy Launch and enforcement as well about the double yellow line. I know because recently I've had a few more complaints as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Samia. Yes, please.
I know you're going to give an answer on the post office, but surely you can tell us right now whether you have an interim measure. The post office is going to close in, I understand, early November. Surely by now you should have an answer as to how is the community going to address the post office issues in the next month?
As we mentioned before, we'll speak to the right department. We have a couple of emails. We spoke to them, and they are going to send you the detailed response on that.
I don't need a detailed response. I just need in bullet points telling me, is there going to be a solution by next month?
Yeah, but we don't have an officer to answer that. We'll take this question and come back to you.
It's a bit condescending not to give us a straight answer when yeah, I don't have a problem with a detailed response, but do you have a solution for next month? That's what I want to know.
The post office is a private entity,
I understand it's private
but
entity.
that's why I said, we'll come back to you. There's no officer here to give you the response now, so we'll come back to you on that.
Okay. So the second question I have is the Lime bikes. There are several local authorities in this country which have banned them because of their performance issue. We are still going through a testing phase where we haven't even evaluated the downside of the Lime scheme. For old age pensioners, for disabled people, people on scooters, it's an enormous problem. Yeah, I'm amazed that we are not ahead of the curve compared to other councils in determining whether Lime is performing in accordance with the contract and in accordance with the terms other councils have found that they fail to do so. I mean, why is Hounslow so behind the curve?
Thank you. We are still in consultation process. Can I ask Sabil to answer that question, Sabil, if you know? Because what happened, we have given detailed response previously in this meeting. That is a 12 months consultation period is going on, and we will decide on that and come back to you on that.
So yeah, Councillor Kiani's right. When we entered into the arrangement with Lime, it was for a 12-month trial period. We are still within that period. Once we've finished that period, we'll have all of the information, like other boroughs, like you said, have completed their trials already and have made a decision one way or another. Because we're still in the trial period, still gathering data, we're still getting testimony from users and non-users of the bikes, and then we'll make a decision.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Finally, my other question is, I know they said we can't use chemicals for the weed issue. By that you mean glycophosphates. Are you talking about all chemicals, or are you just talking about glycophosphates?
Just about glyphosates.
Okay. So in Europe, they have solutions other than glycophosphates.
Sir, can you be please precise, because we.
Sure, I'm being precise.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a major issue. We've all known that, weeds is an issue. In Europe, they have a solution other than using glycophosphates. How is that we're not looking to Europe to decide what solution there should be?
So we've not done this in isolation. We are partnered up with a number of councils across the country, and we're joined up with various groups. As Vinci, which is our parent company, we've explored alternatives. I'm not aware of a current alternative, whether there are other chemicals. They don't work in isolation. So there are chemicals which you can put down, which will help suppress germination, but they won't kill the weed, and there's stuff that might kill the weed, but not as good as glyphosate. But there's nothing that's commercially viable on the scale that we need to do it, that is also affordable, that we have found.
And you've looked to Europe too?
I can't say I've looked at every option, but we have explored it in conjunction with other councils, private sector companies, etc. And we'll keep doing that. I could list all of the different alternatives we've tried. We have to think about, there's some really good stuff, some really good stuff in agriculture, which actually is quite effective, using things like lasers and hot water pressure and other things. But we need something that we can use in an urban environment, which is heavily parked, that is safe to use. And some of the alternatives aren't safe to use in an urban environment.
Okay, thank you.
Much. Thank you very much. We are moving on to the next item of the agenda. Any urgent business? We don't have any other business, so we'll be closing the meeting. Before closing the meeting, I would like to thank all the council staff who has prepared for this meeting, and I thank all the participants here for their very informative questions, and I hope, their questions were answered. If their question was not answered, please write to us, and we'll come back to you. Thank you very much.